and welcome, beloveds, to the Dr. Mumbi Show. My name is Dr. MumbiSeraki. How you doing? How's everything going? I really do pray that you are well in all your ways and that you are moving into living life truly on your own terms. I'm reporting from a sunny Nairobi. Just, our summer weather is back. The cold season is over. No more sweaters and all that, I hope. And really just praying that wherever you are well, you are prospering, you are planning, and you are making moves in your life. Now, there's a very interesting story that's coming out of Africa. I mentioned a couple of months ago that the biggest lenders around the world, basically the World Bank, the International Monetary Fund, the G20, which is basically the group of like the 20 richest countries in the world, the Africa Development Bank, and all the Paris Club creditors, they actually came out and they came together and they wanted to offer a debt service relief package. And the goal was basically to free up about $20 billion that governments would have been using to pay back their debt, but to free that up so that they could use it for their local health services. It sounded lovely, it sounded flowery. It sounded like once again, the European nations were coming to Africa's rescue. But to date, many African countries have actually rejected or very little interest in actually taking up these debts. And when you read the fine print, you'll understand why. Because you see, whenever someone tells you their story, they'll always make it sound like they're doing you a favor, they're doing so much for you, when that might be the furthest thing from the truth. And then they'll tell their people that. So now the Mzungu always think, oh, well, our taxes are going to help Africa feed themselves, etc., etc. But it's such a complex web. And no one has ever dared to even tell the fact that most African countries have paid their debt 2, 3 times over. But it's these exorbitant interest rates that kind of keep us in this, perpetual slavery, perpetual cycle of being in debt. So of the 25 countries that were eligible for debt relief, only 4 actually came forward and requested assistance. That's Cameroon, Cote d'Ivoire, Ethiopia, and Senegal. The majority, however, either refused to apply or have not, requested a debt moratorium. Yes, yes. Our leaders are finally stopped. That something is happening. At least, I see hope here. And so, the reasons for this were very understandable. And by the way, I'm reading this article that was written by Mishek Mutize. He's a lecturer of finance at the University of Cape Town. Brilliant article. Kenya openly rejected the offer to participate in the debt moratorium. And the reasons basically, first, according to this professor, first, there is an implication that countries that are requesting debt suspension have borrowed irresponsibly. And that's that label, being a high risk nation, being seen as borrowing irresponsibly. And then, you would now have a poorer credit rating, just like individuals in the future. Secondly, the Euro bonds became very popular last year and the year before across, various different African countries, put euro bonds in the European stock markets and made money from them. But now with this there's so many clauses. That's why we should never always think we're getting things, but we should really learn to read the fine print. But basically, the euro bond contracts that many countries, including Kenya, I think Ghana also has one, I'm not sure. Basically, what would happen is that the Eurobond terms prohibit countries from seeking a suspension of debt payment under multilateral initiatives. So it wouldn't really help. The Eurobond default clauses indicate the non-payment of external debt, including seeking a moratorium, would be considered as defaulting. Damn. That's where some of this money, so basically it was like a honey trap for a lot of these African governments, but they saw it a mile away, and many have rejected this move. um, but it just shows you there's no mercy. It's business, beloveds. And that's how governments have to start thinking. Because I'm telling you, we're a new breed of Africans. Anyone who has stolen, anyone who has taken money, just prepare yourselves, prepare your wills and everything, because you'll be in jail for a very long time. That's the new breed of African that's coming. because we are not going to be inheriting this. We don't have the inferiority complexes of many of our leaders and many of our, not the independence leaders, but many of these puppets that have come into power merely to eat, not with any pan-Africanist or even nationalist dreams for their nations. So, at least now, a lot of African governments are realizing the importance of maintaining a really good credit rating in order to be able to access international funds at low interest rates. But, and for African countries, that was something where, especially with the dictators of the 80s and the 90s, this was something that they didn't take into consideration and they would just borrow. I mean, there was a point even our governments, our ministries were being run by loans from the West. Even like Germany and stuff would actually be, financing entire ministries within government. But at least it's good to see some changes, somewhere are happening. But the reason that a lot of these governments don't want to default on their Eurobonds, et cetera, is because they would no longer be members of the International Monetary Fund. But I think a lot of our people would actually celebrate that. Anyway, it's good to see African countries. Out of 25, only 4 have taken it up. And by the way, they've all been degraded, including Ethiopia, which absolutely sucks because Ethiopia was on such a high trajectory. Let me know what you think in the comments. Until next time. Tuko pamoja.
Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, Africa.
Hello and welcome to Africa Watch on the Dr. Mumbi Show. My name is Dr. MumbiSeraki. How you doing? How's everything going, guys? I pray you're well in all your ways and that you are living your absolutely most amazing life. Thanks to every single person that supports us through our Patreon and our PayPal accounts, guys. You're amazing. We are planning our trip to West Africa in a couple of weeks, so that should be interesting to see where we'll end up and how that will go. We will be going to an event in the Gambia, actually, so I'll be sharing those details with you as we get nearer. But just want to give a quick shout out. Wait, I never see these names. It's so crazy. But like Randolph Shillingford, you're always there. Chaden Home Renovations, love it. Thank you so much for the support. And many, many others that continuously support us. Doran Tate, Melanie Gooden, all the way from the UK. Cinderella Handwatch. Interesting name. Okay. And Donald Jones. Thank you guys so much. And of course, Penny and A. Phillips. Thank you guys so much for your support. You're really enabling us to do so much. It's so crazy how expensive it is to travel from one part of Africa to another part of Africa. And this is part of the problem why we don't really, you'll find a lot of Africans, like East Africans, won't know much about West Africans, apart from the common stereotypes and vice versa. But that's not why we're here today. Now, the Russia-Africa Summit is going on. So I've been seeing your comments, guys. I've been seeing your comments. Now, some Muzungu commented and said the reason it's Russia-Africa is because whenever it's held, whatever country it's held, usually takes the name of the summit. And he was like, the brightest tool in the African box, are you? Thanks, Mzungu. Anyway, actually, I did my further research and I found out that even when Nairobi hosted the first ever Japan-Africa conference, it was still called Japan-Africa Conference, or the TICA, Tokyo International whatever, Conference of African Development. I think that's what the name is. But so whatever, dude. Anyway, now the Russia-Africa Conference has been going on. Not much reporting in mainstream media, You could see the rivalry between Russia and Western nations. But I swear, one thing we have to remember is Mzungus are always on code. But what has happened is that Russia has actually cancelled, over $20 billion worth of debt that African governments had accumulated during the Soviet era. So all debt basically up until about 1991 has been cleared. Now, Russia isn't the first one to do this. Actually, China also did this. I think it was last year or earlier this year, they cleared certain debts, not for the whole of Africa, but they cleared some debts for, I think it was Ethiopia and one or two other countries, not sure which one. So we've seen this before, but guess who has never? Although if they have, please leave a note and I'll correct myself, but I've never heard of the World Bank, IMF, divided kingdom, divided states, ever canceling loans for Africa. So this is a big deal. And one thing is, I don't know if you guys have noticed, Russia today, because Russia recognized the importance of having their own narrative and giving their narrative not just to their people but to the world, to create this balanced perspective. And so they invested in Russia today, and that's who was exclusively interviewing Putin. And he said it was not only an act of generosity but also a manifestation of pragmatism, because many African countries are not able to pay interest on these loans. And by the way, $20 billion is a lot for Putin, well, for Russia, because, Russia's not doing that well financially. Now, I saw someone comment, Putin, former KGB spy, calling his agents from around Africa. Whoever that was, we think alike. Anyway, so Russia really wants to increase its whole presence internationally, and what we've seen is that Western nations are coming and they're like bashing Russia, guys.